Hi, today we're going to set up a cartridge, adjust and align the cartridge on a turntable. So at the end of this video you will be able to play music on this turntable. The turntable we are going to use is from a company called Project. The thing I will focus on is the tone arm, which is a straight tone arm with a fixed or integrated head shell. This means that the place where you're going to mount the cartridge is fixed to the rest of the tone arm. There are other turntables out there where this part can be taken off. This is then with a detachable head shell. We will make a different video about that one because the setup is slightly different. But again, this one is focusing on this one with integrated head shell. The cartridge we're going to set up is Ortofon 2M Red. This is a affordable, all-round cartridge, entry-level cartridge, but it still delivers a very nice dynamic sound. It plays all kinds of music. I will unbox it and then we'll go through all the steps needed to have the turntable up and running. So I'll need a knife just to cut the seal. It's factory sealed in both ends, so you can see it's brand new. And inside we have another box where you can see here the cartridge, and on the back side you can see some things that we'll come back to. I'll take the cartridge out now. And a cartridge is a delicate thing, but you can also handle it if you are a little bit careful. And this one even has a stylus guard mounted, so the stylus or the needle is below this one, so it's protected very well. This one, of course, you will take off when you are going to play. So if you look at it now, you can see the needle sitting on the cantilever, very thin aluminum rod, and then you have the needle in this one. So this is the delicate things. This is really where you have to take care of what goes on. This is also what goes in to the groove of the record. So I'll put this one back on, and this is a very important thing for you when you have this cartridge mounted, because if you don't play and you want to protect your cartridge, you should just mount this stylus guard. It's very easy to do. You have this small handle at the back, so you can just flip it a little bit down, and then you can take it off, and this vice versa if you put it back on like this. So it's quite easy to use. Now for the setup, we'll keep it on. To look further onto the cartridge, we can look at the back end. You have 4 pins, gold-plated terminal pins. This is where the electrical signal comes out, and these pins are going to be connected to the wires hanging here at the tone arm. They are color-coded, red, white, blue, and no color code on the last one because you have the ground connection there, but that is supposed to be green because you have a green wire down here. At the top you have 2 threaded holes that corresponds to the holes in the tone arm, so you will mount it by putting 2 screws in from the top. Also important to notice is that this kind of cartridge has a detachable stylus part, so you can have the body and the part with the stylus, with the needle, separate. So if you damage the needle, you don't need to buy a totally new cartridge. You can buy this one. If you wear it out, if it gets old, you can buy this one. Or even more important, if you want to upgrade your sound, then you can buy a different kind of stylus. You can look at a different video from Ortofon regarding this upgrade. Now it's about the 2M Red. Let's see what's in the box on the back side. I'll open it up like this. So I have user guide. I have some tools. Let's see what kind of tools we are dealing with. Take it out of the bag. So we have a stylus brush. Very important to clean your stylus. Cleaning your stylus every time you play a record is very important. We'll get back to that. This will give your stylus a longer lifetime and also improve your sound quality. You have a small screwdriver that you would need to mount the screws. That is also included. So there are two lengths of screws, a longer one and a shorter one. The one that you're going to use will depend on the thickness of the head shell. So if it's thin, you are definitely going to use the short screw. If it's thicker, you can use a long one. Always start with short one to figure out if this is long enough, then use that. Then you don't need to use a long one. You don't need to have the screw going too far down into the cartridge. I'm not going to use this screwdriver now. I'm going to use the one I'm used to use in this kind of context. This one I've been using many times. It's very handy for me, so this is the one I'm going to use. For the mounting of the wires at the terminal pins, you could do this by hand, by your finger, but I want to use a pair of tweezers, not very small tweezers, but a substantial pair of tweezers where you can really grab the wire. Or you could also use a needle shaped pair of pliers. You can have it curved or you can have it straight, but I'm going to use first. I'll mount the head shell wires. You could also mount the cartridge first and then the head shell wires, but I prefer to mount the head shell wires first because then I have totally control of the cartridge body while I'm putting the wires onto the back of it. So this is how I prefer to do it. I'll start with the green one. You don't have to, but it's convenient because it's in the upper corner. So I'll put the green wire on and then using my tweezers to really get it into place. Then I will find the blue one. Do the same thing, grabbing not on the wire itself, but on the solid part at the end of the wire. Then I'll need to find a white one. It was there. So I'll put this one on, like that. And then the red one at the end, like this. So now all the head shell wires are mounted. Now we need to attach the cartridge to the tone arm. So we need a screw. So I'll put the screw down here and see if I can find the thread. And then I will use my fingers just to see if it's there. Yes. And then I will just tighten it a little bit with my fingers. And then I'll take the screwdriver and tighten it a little bit more. Not really tight. One more screw at the other side. Same procedure, trying to find the hole. So, just take your time. You want the screw to go nicely into the hole, not to damage anything. You can see it can take a little bit of time, so. Just screwdriver. So. It's a little bit fiddly, but take your time. So, and if you noticed, the holes in the tone arm were not really just a hole, it was sort of long holes. So this means that you can slide the cartridge back and forth. I can show you. If I untighten these a little bit, then you can slide it back and forth, and you can even twist it if you want to. This we will come back to, because right now you would not know where to mount it. But this is about the alignment, so we'll come back to that part. Right now, I'll just put it in the middle of the two long holes, because then you have possibility to adjust it both backwards and forwards. And just tighten it very slightly. Now that we have the cartridge mounted on the tone arm, we now need to adjust the tracking force. The tracking force is the force that the stylus is putting on to the record when we are playing. If you look in the user guide, you can find the 2M cartridges here and the 2M red in the middle. There it says that the tracking force recommended is 1.8 grams. So we have to adjust this to 1.8 grams. How do we do that? First of all, I need to mount the counterweight. Right now, you have a lot of mass in the front here because you mounted the cartridge, so this is really heavily on to the surface. Counterweight, put this one on. So now I'll be able to balance the two ends. I need to remove the stylus guard because this has some weight and we do not want to have this one on in this adjustment process. So now, please remember, you're not protected anymore now, so you have to take really good care of what you're doing. We put it out here, and now we need to find a balance point where this is floating. So if I put this one to the end, you see it's definitely not floating, it comes up. If I go to the other end, it definitely comes down. You see I was very careful because now the stylus is down on this surface, lifted up. So in between here, there's a point where you can balance. And this is what I'm looking for by making this adjustment. So this is basically where you're balancing now. This is nice. I take it back, rest position. The counterweight has two parts, rear, front part. The front part is only as a dial. The rear part is, if you turn that, you are really moving the counterweight. I will now put the dial to 0, like this. And now I can take the counterweight and twist it and put the number that I can read to 1.8 or 18, as it says here. So now I have 1.8 grams on tracking force on this cartridge. And we can stop here and say, okay, I rely on this tone arm to be correct, so I have 1.8 grams. But it is possible to check that out. You can use a very simple little weight, like this one, to see if you really have 1.8 grams. You can see some reading on it, 1.25, 1.5, 2, 2.5, and so on. And there's a groove in the middle. So what you need to do is put this one down on the surface, and then you put the needle into the groove around where 1.8 is. And then you need to see if you're balancing this. So if these two parts, they're going to be straight with each other. So now I put this one down here. Okay, need to put it up again. I lift this one. I go to approximately 1.8 to see where we are. That should be around here. Let's see there. So that's slightly too much. So I could say that, okay, so this is slightly too much. I'll just go a little bit down, but it's really close to what it's supposed to be. And then I do it again. And basically, now you have a nice balance. So now I know for sure I have 1.8 grams. Now we need to find out where this cartridge has to be mounted. You remember I put it in the middle position in these long holes, but we are not sure if this is the right one. This has something to do with how the cartridge is playing the record if it comes from the outside to the inside. And we want that to be very even-handed in a way that it sort of is treating the signal on the outside basically the same way as it's treating the signal on the inside. And the way you can do that is by using this kind of alignment tool. This alignment tool has 2 points, there and there. And these 2 points are the important ones because if I put this one down on the record surface, what I'm going to do now is to lift the tone arm, the cartridge, and put the needle down at these 2 points. And then I will look for the cantilever. You remember the part that is connecting the needle to the cartridge itself. Look for that and see if that is going to be, one second, if that is going to be parallel to this line. So you really need to do this very carefully. Remember, you're still working without any protection of your needle. So now you see it's a smooth surface, so it's not so bad. So now I have the needle where it's supposed to be, and then you really need to go down here to have a look if you can see that the cantilever is parallel to that line. And it looks pretty nice. But it can be bad at the other position. So I'll turn this one around a little bit and put it down there, like this. Yeah. And then have a look again in here. It's also pretty good there. So our guess that it should be in the middle position was not really bad. Many toner manufacturers would do that because cartridges have different sizes. So Ortofon cartridge has more a standard size, so therefore in the middle would probably be a good choice. If you are not going to use something like this, then just rely on to be in the middle. It might also be the case that the turntable manufacturer has put some guideline up in their user guide for the turntable and the tone arm. But now I know I'm in the correct position. So now I can take my screwdriver and I can sort of just tighten the screw slightly. Remember, this is delicate thing, so it's not about really hard tightening, but slightly. Now it's into place. So we have the tracking force, we have the cartridge, we have the alignment. Now we need to put on this small thing. It's a small weight with a string, and this is for anti-skating, as it's called. I'll mount this and then I can explain you what this is all about. So if you look, again, you need to look up the user guide for the tone arm or for the turntable, where you have to put this wire. There are some grooves up here. And for this cartridge, I have to put it in the middle position. Now I'll just hang it down like this. This small weight is producing a force that is trying to get this tone arm to move to the outside. And that is in fact counteracting a force that will occur when you put the needle into the groove and you play a record, because then you'll have a force towards the inside. And if you don't have anti-skating, then you will have too much force on the inside part of the groove. So this is to make sure that the needle is riding nicely in the middle of the groove without too much force on either the outside or inside. So anti-skating to make sure that we are really playing a record the right way. So in this video until now, we have now seen how to mount the cartridge, how to adjust tracking force, how to make the alignment of the cartridge on the tone arm, and also how to install the anti-skating. So all these steps we have gone through to get to the point where we are now, where we are in fact ready to play music. And this is what it's all about. So I'll take the lift up now. We have had it down all the time during the mounting process. We'll find the record. Have a record down here. In fact, a very special record for me and for many people. Super record, very nice sound, super music. I use this a lot also when I'm testing cartridges, one of my favorites. Put it on and get the record to spin. Now, basically we would be ready to play, but we must remember to clean record and clean the stylus. To clean the record, we will use a record brush, carbon fibers, very dense carbon fibers. You put it onto the record very lightly. You can feel the record is dragging it. After a few rounds, you just take it to the outside. Sometimes it's very clean after one turn, one way, and then if not, you will do it twice. You look at the record. If you're satisfied, then it's good. Next thing, the stylus. We need to clean that. This 2M red was supplied with this stylus brush. When we're going to clean it, it's important only to clean it in one direction, and this is from the back to the front. So from the back to the front. And this is because if you do it from side to side, you can damage the cantilever. And also if you do it from front to back, you can also damage the cantilever. And we don't want to do that. So it's safe to do it from back to front. This is a good stylus brush, but you can upgrade to something which is more related to this kind of fibers that you have in your record brush. A fiber brush, stylus fiber brush. The number of fibers is very high and they're very thin, so they can clean the stylus in a better way. But still, remember, from back to front. So I'll do this a couple of times now, like that. So now it's cleaned with this one. So I will definitely recommend thinking about this small stylus brush from Ortofon. Now we are ready to play. So I'll just make ready to cue the cartridge down, and then we would of course expect music to come out. But from this setup, we will have no music because there are no cables attached to the turntable. We need to attach some cables to get to an amplifier which is capable of amplifying the signal from this moving magnet cartridge, and then of course we would need some speakers. We don't have that here, so we must just imagine how this will sound. But anyway, we'll cue it down. So now we are ready to do what this is all about, listening to music.